we've been having this raging debate on freedom of expression for a while now in Indian books and literature. But it's always in the realm of books written for adults. When, however, we talk to our own children, we are such proponents of free speech, but where is free speech vis-a-vis children's right to express themselves? Where do you stand on this?
You mean, I think children discover their own books, and they do so at different ages. Sometimes, I remember as a boy going at a very early age, but going straight from children's books into adult literature. And you can't really keep things from children. If mommy and daddy don't want you to read a book and hide it away in a cupboard or on the top of a shelf, then the little boy in the house is going to go out of his way to discover that book and look for it and read it simply because he's been told not to. So sometimes being told that certain books or certain kinds of literature is not good for you is really has the opposite effect, and it's an incentive to really go and discover it. But I think good writing always transcends. You get bad writing, and there are. I think the more we read, the more capable we are of judging and between what's good literature and what's shoddy. I'm not too worried, therefore, about
right.
curbs on freedom of expression, because we find our own freedoms one way or another.
Right. Well, if oh shucks, I've lost my train of thought. My train of thought. Hang on, I've got it right here somewhere. Yes. So when you write for children or for adults, is this a conscious decision you take, or do you just write and does someone else decide this book is suitable for a child or that book is suitable for an adult? That's the first part.
Basically, I write for myself. In other words, I won't be writing a story or an essay or a poem unless I'm enjoying it, unless it's giving me pleasure. And if it gives me some pleasure and satisfaction, hopefully it will give somebody else the same thing. And for many years, I never wrote deliberately for children. I never wrote down to them. Occasionally, people in the educational world might have felt a particular story of mine was suitable for children, and they put it into an anthology or a school reader. So it's really only perhaps in recent years where I've been asked to write a story specifically for children, because I think in this day and age we're inclined to put people into compartments and say this is suitable for kids between 8 and 10, and this is good for young adults between 15 and 16. Whereas when I go back to my own boyhood, it's just that books were there, and young people enjoyed certain kinds of books and older people others. But they weren't categorized, or you weren't put into compartments. So I might have started off with Alice in Wonderland and then suddenly shifted to Dickens, or when I was 12 or 13 reading Somerset Maugham or adult writers of that period or that era. So I don't think we should put things in age groups or categorize them, or just discover what you like and then read as much as you can and as much as you enjoy reading.
Now, you've mentioned in Love Among the Bookshelves, which is your anthology on your favorite writers, that you are a great fan of ghost stories, and you've written a fair few. Which one is your personal favorite?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I made them all up. I'm still waiting to meet a ghost, and I doubt if it will on this sunny morning here, unless Queen Victoria appears suddenly on the ramparts of the Victoria Memorial. But I did grow up on ghost stories, and I enjoy reading them. It gives you young people like them because it gives you a thrill, or it's what I call a safe fear. You know, something terrible is going on, but at the same time, you know, it's not going to happen to you. So you can enjoy the story. Or if it's a film, you enjoy the film. And so over the years, the ghost story has been. There have been many great writers who've used it. Walter de la Mare and M.R. James and Algan and Blackwood. In more recent years, writers like Stephen King and others. So it's a genre in itself which seems to attract readers.
So among these, Ruskin, just interrupting, do you have a favorite ghost story among all these writers, M.R. James, Sheridan Le Fanu, Walter de la Mare, and the others? Do you have any specific one that you would like the audience to perhaps read at some time?
Well, I would take a collection of M.R. James, which would appeal to people with an academic background, ghost stories of an antiquary. Or A Warning to the Curious. Those are the titles of two of his collections. And Walter de la Mare also wrote a short novel, The Return, which was a ghost story. But usually the ghost story doesn't work so well in the novel form. It seems to be more effective in the short story form.
How come you haven't ever written a detective thriller? You're such a fan of detective stories.
I did write a detective story once. Nobody would publish it. It was so bad. but I know that there are many Bengali writers who are very successful at writing detective stories. Of course, Satyajit Ray was one of them. And even today, I believe it's quite a successful genre in Bengali literature. So maybe I'll pinch something from them, or I'll get an idea there.
And no swashbuckling adventures, because you like R.L. Stevenson, you've claimed, your book says so, and I thought perhaps you'd write one.
Yes, well, I enjoyed it. I used to read detective fiction, thrillers, I still do, and adventure stories. I've done a new Rusty book for children called Rusty in the Magic Mountain.
Did you really fall in love with the young girl in the train to Dearly?
Not only her, but several others. Thank you. That was my romantic period in my 20s. I was always writing stories about beautiful girls on railway stations. Unfortunately, I don't travel by train anymore, so I don't know if they're still there. And if she is, she'd be my age.
Could I just ask you to pass a mic there? There's a gentleman with his hand up for a while. Blue shirt. Yeah.
You have a good sense of color.
Mr. Bond, when you were a child, did you ever wanted to become something else?
Where are you?
Yeah, here.
There he is.
When I was a child, did I want to become something else?
Rather than a writer.
Yes, I wanted at one time to be a tap dancer. Well, I don't have the figure for it now. Then I wanted to be a football player. And I used to play a lot of football, but you see, at the age of 80, I can still write stories. But kicking a football around, and I can kick the football, but I'm not going to run after it, that's for sure.
So what made you choose this writing as your...
Well, it's the thing I did best. Writing was the thing I did best. Okay. So always, I think, try to make your life revolve around whatever you can do best.
Right. There's a lady at the back there and a gentleman. They've been waiting for a long time to ask a question. I think I'm just a little bit biased towards the people in the front. No, right at the back, please. Yeah.
Yes?
But in the meantime, anyone? Yes, please. Ask your question.
Hello? Here. What?
When I started writing books, which writer inspired many writers actually, because I had grown up on the classics to a great extent. I'd read all the works of Charles Dickens, Shakespeare, of course, we had to study in school, and I have to admit, I used to fall asleep in the middle of As You Like It or Merchant of Venice. But then I went on to popular writers. I enjoyed reading P.G. Wodehouse or Agatha Christie, or maybe more serious novelists, Compton Mackenzie and Somerset Maugham. Now, these are all writers of that era, the 1940s, etc. So, and naturally, it's the writers you read as a boy or a girl that are going to influence you. So, many writers influenced me.
So, ma'am, do you have a mic now?
Yes, yes, I
Yeah,
have the
do.
mic.
Loudly,
Good
please.
afternoon, Mr. Bond. You write most of your stories from the Missouri. So, do you think the Missouri is the only place or the best place to write about the nature?
Oh, no, no, you can write about nature wherever you are.
You love the place. That's why.
No, no, I like living there. But any writer worth his or her salt
Okay.
should be able to write, as many famous writers have done, in difficult conditions, in a small attic room, or in a crowded city or tenement. The desire to write can be so strong that it doesn't matter where you live or what your circumstances are. If you want to write, you will write. So you don't have to have beautiful surroundings.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, the gentleman next. Yes,
Good-
you've been waiting for a long
Good morning.
time.
I'm Venu Speak on Twitter. I read your book, The Flight of Pigeons, in 80s, and I'm gifting classic Ruskin Bond Part 1 and 2 to my 17-year-old son. My question to you is, how is reading when no television existed and in the social media world? Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. I will. And you're right. In my school days, there was no television. There was no internet, of course, and no video games, and none of the things that we are today blaming for the absence of the reading habit. And actually, the reading habit is not absent. It's always been a minority pastime. Now, even when I was at school, I'm going back to my school days, in a class of 35 boys, there were just, and we had a good library, but there were just 2 or 3 of us who were actually fond of reading books. And you didn't have television or all these distractions. Other students, well, they read comics. Once a month you went to the cinema, to the pictures. But reading was always just a few people, a few kids who were fond of it. Today it's still a minority pastime, but that minority in actual terms of numbers has grown and grown and grown because of education and the larger number of people who can read.
The lady in black.
many hands up
You've
now.
been waiting for a long time. Yeah.
No, my Hindi is very poor. It's masala Hindi, straight out of Bollywood. I couldn't write a book in. I practiced it before.
Ma'am, I'll give you a mic. She's been waiting for a very long time. And you, little girl in pink. Yeah, you take my mic. Ask your question.
Did you really run away from Arundel?
Did I really?
Run away from Arundel. You
Run
wrote
away
in Adventures of Rusty.
Did you really run away from Arundel?
From school?
From Arundel.
Arundel. Oh, see, she remembers my story better than I do. Arundel was the name I gave to a school in a story. Is that right? Yeah. I ran away from school for about 2 days, but I didn't take enough pocket money with me, so I had to come crawling back next day feeling very hungry.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bond.
Good afternoon.
May I ask you, have you been ever influenced by Harry Potter?
Not really, because Harry Potter is a recent phenomenon, a very successful one. So my my influences go back much earlier, but I'm sure kids today will be influenced by Harry Potter because they're growing up. The books that you grow up on are the ones that will influence you. But I meet youngsters who, some like Harry Potter, others might prefer Roald Dahl or other popular writers. Read as much as, read everything you can.
Hello, Ruskin.
Sorry? Where is she?
So this question has been haunting me since class 6. So how would the scenario shape up if the author really trudged down the dusty roads of Deoli in order to search the girl with eloquent eyes?
Yes. You want to know the end of that story?
Yes, sir.
Well, I don't know the end of it either, so it's still in limbo. I often get asked that question: what happened to the girl on the platform at Deoli? And I you know that station is still there, but I don't see the girl anymore.
Sir, was Room on the Roof chiefly autobiographical in those days?
So
For you.
The room on the roof?
Yes, the Room on the
Yes.
Roof.
What was the question?
I said, was it chiefly autobiographical? That
Sorry, Chief.
the book, Room on the Roof,
Right.
does it have an autobiographical element?
Oh, yes, it does. But you see, I wrote The Room on the Roof when I was 17. It started out as a journal. But when I